Hello, welcome to Nerdy Drunk Episode 2, Yes, Beer Can Age. It is Saturday, May 9th. I'm Tim Ingalls, aka The Nerdy Drunk. I have a couple of quick corrections from my previous episode about beer glasses and pouring. The biggest thing is I forgot to mention bottle bloat. Some beers, when you drink them straight from the bottle, all of that carbonation, or the majority of it, goes from the bottle to your stomach, bubbles up there, makes you feel a little uncomfortable and bloated. Pouring it into a glass relieves a little bit of that, makes it a much more enjoyable beer to drink. The second thing is when pouring a beer, whether it's from a tap or a bottle, you do not want to touch the glass with the method of serving. One, by touching the glass, it's a sign of uncleanliness, because if the bottle is dirty or the tap is dirty, it's a sign that you're making the beer dirty or the glass dirty. The second thing is making sure that you don't damage the glass. Some of the beers come in very delicate glasses that you want to make sure that you do not chip or, because you don't want to drink glass. That would not be fun. The final thing is I kind of inadvertently called Samuel Adams Boston Lager an India Pale Ale. It is not. It is just a lager, not just a lager, but it is a really good lager that focuses on a specific hop flavor. Thus, the Samuel Adams glass, which also works really well for other beers that try to accentuate hop flavors. So, today is, like I said, aging of beer. Brief summary, we're going to go over what is aging and why you want to age a beer, what's required from a beer in order to get it to age, tips on what you can do to best age your beer. I thought there was more than that. Anyways, so what and why is aging a beer, or why do you want to age a beer? Aging a beer is allowing a beer, like a lot of the ones I have here, to sit over a period of time to allow the flavors to develop. Sometimes you might only age it a couple months. Sometimes you might have to age it literally a couple of decades. By allowing it to sit and allowing the flavors to change, what you do is you smooth out the flavors. Some of the beers, when they're young, will have very sharp, noticeable flavors that aren't necessarily bad, but it might not necessarily always be the exact flavor that you want. A lot of those stronger flavors might be hiding more delicate flavors that you want to be able to taste in the beer. One example is the Great Lakes barrel-aged blackout stout. I had to remember the entire name. The 2007 batch, after aging it for quite a while now, year and a couple months, you end up getting a little bit more vanilla and from the bourbon barrel flavor instead of just straight bourbon itself. Normally you would not have really tasted that because it's a much more delicate flavor in that beer. Also, some beers even strongly recommend aging it. Things like Thomas Hardy's usually recommend aging it, 20-something years, 25 years. Some of them, the Dogfish Head Barley Wine recommends letting it sit for a year before even opening it. So it can vary depending on when the beer is aged its best. So what is required in a beer in order to get it to age? Going back to India Pale Ales, that's using hops in order to not necessarily age the beer, but to help preserve the beer for transport. That's probably the aging of beer that most people are familiar with, having to transport beers from England via ship to India, thus requiring some kind of preservative. One of the other things that is most likely to allow beer to age, and was also noticeable in original IPAs, was alcohol. By having a strong, high alcohol content, you can allow the beer to age as well. That acts as a preservative like hops do. It's kind of like, hard liquor doesn't go bad. It's got a lot of alcohol in it. Some beers can go high alcohol. Again, Thomas Hardy's 11%. That's got plenty of alcohol to be able to age. And then all the way up to things like, Dogfish had 120 in Worldwide Stout that are 18 or 20%. That's definitely going to allow it to age because it's such an extreme alcohol content. Also, another thing that can allow beers to age is malt. A very high malt or grain content in the making of the beer can sometimes allow it to age. There's a few British barley wines that are only like 8%, somewhere around there, but they can still age very, very well because it's just such a high grain or malt barley content in the beer. One of the final things, and probably most surprising to a lot of people that allows a beer to age, is acid, having a high acid content. Kind of like how you would take an apple and you'd spray lemons over, or squirt lemon juice over it to prevent it from browning. Pretty much the exact same thing. The most noticeable ones are going to be some of the Flemish ales and lambics. Rodenbach Grand Cru, as more along the Flemish style, that is a very sour, very tart beer that has a very high acid content that will allow it to age. Also, traditionally, non-fruit lambics will age very well, like a lot of the Cantillons will age because, again, they're just a very high acidic level. A couple tips on how to best age your beer. The biggest one is keeping the beer cool. Keeping it at a nice even temperature. It's preferable to age it not at a fridge temperature, but at a cellar temperature. Somewhere in around the 50 degrees, 54 degrees or so. A lot of the beers will even list a specific best aging temperature, either in Fahrenheit or Celsius. Most people, if you have a home with a cool basement, that's a really good place to be able to age the beer. Or if you can afford it, getting a giant beer fridge, that works as well. The next thing is darkness, keeping the beer out of direct sunlight, keeping it out of light. A lot of times, even though the bottles are dark, a little bit of light can still get through the bottles, and that light, that UV or ultraviolet, will actually cause the beer to age faster than you want it to. So keeping it out of sunlight, again, a nice, dark, cool basement, hidden in a closet, is perfect for aging beers. The final thing that you can do to best age your beers is sealing them. And you probably notice a lot of my beers have gold wax on the top. I put that on there to seal the beer. Over time, some of the bottle caps can slowly rust and they can lose their seal around the top of the bottle. That would allow air in, and that would flatten the beer, and it would also cause it to age really, really quickly. By covering it in wax, you're making a complete seal around the airtight seal around the top of the beer. So that's another thing. If you have beers that you really, really don't want to risk going bad, getting some wax and sealing the beers would be strongly recommended for best aging. So I want to thank you for watching another episode of Nerdy Drunk. You can visit the website NerdyDrunk.com. Please leave your comments, suggestions, and questions there. I'll also have the video again available on YouTube. If you have a YouTube account, you can comment there. I did forget to mention that I did put a form for submitting email to me on NerdyDrunk.com, which you're free to use. And you can follow me on Twitter.com/Chimney23. Probably change that later. And I did create a Facebook page that you can also be a fan of for NerdyDrunk.com. Again, Tim, the Nerdy Drunk, thank you.